It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cowboys, your daily Dallas Cowboys podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked on Cowboys. Locked on Cowboys.
Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for tuning in. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. And joining me today, as always, is Landon McCool. You can check him out on Twitter at McCoolBCB. You can also listen to him on the Best Coast Boys podcast. Landon, what is going on, sir?
It's Christmas Eve, and it's everyone's got the stockings up. Everyone's made their list. They've seen if they've been good enough to receive a first-round corner at 10, or if they've been so bad that you get forced a defensive end that you don't want at 10. So
it really is. We're all making preparations. I went to the store and got all the snacks and drinks ready to go, and I'm excited, Landon. It should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I had a friend who's not nearly as obsessed with football as I am, I guess, but still really loves football. And even he was referring to this as like Christmas. I just think there's so much joy and excitement, and there's so much uncertainty, and the unwrapping of presents is very analogous to what you get when your team is on the clock and you actually get the pick. It's very exciting.
Yeah, I've had so many buddies text me today that they're not getting any work done today because all they've been doing is scouring Twitter and looking at mock drafts. So it's a lot of fun. It's a good time of the year. So, Landon, we're going to get into some Cowboys-related rumors in just a second. But first and foremost, did you watch the pre-draft press conference yesterday? Was there any significant notes or takeaways from it?
It felt like for the first time in a while, it was one of the least informative pre-draft press conferences.
None of them are informative. I watched the 2021 yesterday. You got nothing out of it. Nothing.
The 2021 was the start of it, but I felt like previous to that, Jerry and Steven will at least give you one solid nugget that you previously didn't have. Whether it's like, oh, we're not considering that position. You're like, I spent all season mocking this position. So we didn't really get as much of that. It does. I mean, the only thing that I felt like was of serious note was, McCarthy harped on speed and needing to get speed on defense. And I think that can kind of inform some insight to us, or give us some insight into potentially what they're, how they're ranking or measuring these guys, or at least what kind of priority they're putting on speed on defense. I thought that the really fascinating, interesting line that I've been using a lot is "Don't be stupid with your needs." That's the line that I thought was the glory hole line of the press conference, where I thought "Don't be stupid with your needs," and I agree. It's wisdom. It's good wisdom by Jerry, and I think there's been times when coaches may have pushed him into being stupid with needs before. Coach Charlton. And I think, that's kind of what happens, is that you learn your lesson from that kind of thing. And hopefully they have learned their lesson. They'll all actually follow their own advice.
I just hate these pre-draft press conferences because I want information, but at the same time, I don't want, you don't want Jerry Jones saying, hey, we're going to pick X player here. I joked around on Twitter, if you played the press conference backwards from last year, you hear them say they want CeeDee Lamb at 17. That was a joke. All right. Later, let's get into some rumors. And we know that it's silly season. We know that you really probably shouldn't take anything that's being said now, in full or whatever. But there are some things out there that I think make a lot of sense. The first one is something that we've actually been hearing for a couple of days now, and that's that the Cowboys and Patriots have been discussing a potential trade down if a quarterback, and I'm going to assume it's Justin Fields, is available at 10. They would potentially try to come up. First and foremost, if that is the case, what are you asking for the Patriots? Like, what do you need to get to move back from 10 to 15?
Well, I mean, first of all, we've heard all kinds of stuff here. I mean, I've heard all kinds. I mean, and the funny thing about it is, I've heard from multiple different sources, a variety of different trade compensations, but strongly 15-10, strongly the Patriots and the Cowboys, right? That seems to be.
Well,
what
I think
keep
it makes
hearing
sense for both teams, right? Because
Yeah.
Dallas gets assets, but they don't drop so far where they probably don't get a first round player, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think that you probably some of the things that we've heard is discussing swapping picks in later day two, or maybe swapping spots in the second round, a potential of picks next year, whether it's a second or third round pick potentially going there. I've heard, and not really too much specifics, I've heard there's players involved, or that they have at least discussed, some names back and forth. So I guess really overall, what I would say is that it sounds like they have a general, agreement that this is a good fit for trade partners, and that they're kind of cycling through several different machinations of what this trade could be. You're like, hey, well, I like this guy. Maybe we can trade this and this, and then flop seconds, and then whatever. So I think that they like the idea of the spots, that they're targeting those areas, and they like the idea of working with each other, and maybe working around the rest of the NFC East. But I think that it will be interesting to see exactly what the compensation is if the trade goes down on Thursday, because that's where it feels like we're hearing things all over the board about what the compensation could be.
So two things. We have heard specific players. Don't you lie. We've heard specific players. I'm not going to
sure if we
mention
wanted to say that.
No.
Okay.
I'm not going to mention who they are, but it wouldn't be shocking if the Cowboys and Patriots swap guys that were on expiring deals.
Let's say that. Yeah.
Okay.
And names names that we've heard bantied about as potential trade fodder before. Yeah. I'll say that. Nothing shocking, as far as who the names are.
My guess is, Landon, this whole week has been laying the groundwork for trades. If Justin Fields is available at 10, this is what we would like. This is what we would take, and these are the guys that we would target. I don't know how this is impacted by who's available at 10, because let's say Patrick Surtain is there at 10 and Justin Fields. Are they still making that move? I don't know.
What's the hierarchy there? Yeah.
Yes.
What's the hierarchy of trade versus taking Patrick Surtain? Like, what's the power ranking there of all those situations? That's a very fascinating part of this. Absolutely.
And that's what I think we're still trying to find out. And then on top of that, I think there's other teams around where Dallas is picking that are also interested in moving up to number 10, because again, the Giants drafted 11. We think they could be going either edge rusher, offensive line, maybe receiver. Eagles definitely looking at wide receiver. So if a team that, that's drafting 16, let's say the Arizona Cardinals, who have been rumored to draft Jalen Waddle, would Dallas be interested in going back to 16? So I just think over the next 30 hours, 38 hours, however many it is, we're going to hear a bunch of trade rumors, because teams are laying the groundwork for trades if a quarterback falls. And even, listen, I think it was Jerry Jones yesterday said they're in a great position because they're drafting in the top 10 and they've got their quarterback signed, and they know that they might be able to get an extraordinary amount of value trading down, and they're okay with that. But there is a cutoff of where you can't trade down so far and not get a first round pick. I don't think they're going to go into the 20s or anything like that.
We've been saying for a long time that if Mac Jones goes 3 and Justin Fields starts to fall, that's really going to be a catalytic event for the top part of the draft, because so many teams, as opposed to Mac Jones, would trade up for Justin Fields. And I realized as I was formulating that in my brain that actually if Mac Jones is the pick at 3, then I guess San Francisco technically did trade up to go select Mac Jones.
Yeah.
But I don't know that. I mean, I guess we're all kind of confused by that. If Mac Jones is the pick at 3, I think a lot of people are going to be scratching their heads for sure. But beyond that as well, I do think it will set off a chain of events that could lead to a scramble for finding a soft landing spot
Yes.
for Justin Fields.
I want to talk about, Landon, who the Cowboys would potentially target at 15 if they executed a trade for the Patriots. Let's just assume it's 15 and 46. I want to talk about 3 guys that I have circled. But before we do that, I want to tell you guys about Nugenix. Hey, Cowboy fans, listen up. Nugenix, the #1 selling free testosterone booster at GNC, is offering a complimentary bottle to all football fans in America. To get your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, text DRAFT to 231-231. This unique man-boosting formula is powered by Testofen, which helps boost free testosterone and total testosterone levels, increase energy and lean muscle mass. Plus, text right now, and they'll include a bottle of Nugenix Tea, the most powerful fat killer ever, with key ingredients to get you back in shape, absolutely free. Text DRAFT to 231-231. That's DRAFT to 231-231. All right, Landon. So, again, we're going to assume the Cowboys make a trade with New England. They go from 10 to 15, probably pick 46, and maybe they pick up another day 3 pick. Who are some of the names that you think the Cowboys would be interested in, assuming, again, Patrick Surtain and J.C. Horn are gone?
At 15?
At 15.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really starts to open things up, right? Because you get the extra pick that gives you the value to start kind of choosing from that next tier without, the kind of pressing of, oh, are you getting value? Are you getting value? Which, it's important to get value, and you should not trade away from value. But I think that you are getting a certain amount of value built in by the trade back because you're getting that extra pick, right? So you could start considering guys like, Barmore and Zaven Collins. And I mean, I think, you could potentially start considering some of the offensive guys. You could start considering tackles. You consider just a lot. Elijah Vera Tucker's in that range. I'm sure they like Elijah Vera Tucker. Stop smiling, Marcus. I know
the reason why I'm smiling is that's the #1 name on my list. I have
Elijah Vera Tucker.
Yeah, I think if they go down to 15, I don't want to say that would be the pick, but I think that's somebody that would certainly be in the short list of names if he is there. I've heard from a lot of different people over the last 2 or 3 weeks that there's some people in the draft that believe he's the second best offensive lineman in this class. And I believe it was Lance Zierlein on his latest Prospects to Pros podcast said, starting at 10 is his range, and he could go 11, 12, 13. I mean, those are all spots where he makes a lot of sense. And for the Cowboys, I believe he shares the same agent as Tyron Smith. He went to USC. He has guard and tackle versatility. He's somebody that could probably play left guard right away, and maybe in the future you move him to tackle, assuming that the arm length isn't an issue. But I think at 15, you're grabbing a Pro Bowl caliber guard that can play day 1 that I think would fit the scheme really well.
Yeah, and I think he's as you started to look at him more and more, it feels like he's created his own little sub tier between the top 2 guys and Christian Darrisaw in that next group. So, and I agree again, kind of to your point. I personally think that of these guys that you're trying to kick into guard, I think he probably could be the best of them. Like as far as playing guard, right? I think Slater has better versatility to eventually move inside and then go back outside if you wanted him to.
Yes, I would agree.
But I think as far as like if you decided to move this guy to guard and play him next year, I wouldn't be surprised if Vera Tucker was the best rookie guard of the guys that you're potentially, even for short term moving inside.
Well, I saw a tweet from our good friend Eric Galco today who said that a lot of teams believe that Slater is the #1 offensive lineman in the class for that exact reason, right? If you are projecting them at a different position other than left tackle, I think it's pretty easy. I think Slater's a better guard than what Sewell is. And I think Vera Tucker's probably a better guard than what Sewell is, right? I mean, I think in terms of technique, he's a little less sloppy. I think he's maybe a better mover in space. So if you're just doing it that way, I can see why some teams maybe are a little bit concerned about playing or drafting Sewell inside the top 10 if you have to move into a different position. And I think that's why the Cowboys maybe like Elijah Vera Tucker so much.
Yeah, and I don't disagree there. I think that if you're drafting Sewell, you should put him at tackle and play him at tackle.
Yes, I agree.
Just get him in there and
It might be rough
have
though. I think that's the problem. It could be really rough as a rookie.
I think it would. Yeah, it would be even more rough if he moved inside because I think there's a lot more technique you need to worry about. I think the hand technique specifically, where he's still kind of raw, and I think I think he would bury folks. I think there's a couple of snaps that he would absolutely bury folks. But I also think that as far as making a smooth transition inside, to me, Slater and Vera Tucker's games are much more suited for that. But then again, I don't think that either one of those two guys is nearly the offensive tackle that Penei Sewell could be,
I would agree.
in my opinion.
Again, I just believe at 15, you can justify the Elijah Vera Tucker pick. You continue to invest in your offensive line. And then on top of that, you get another day 2 pick that you can spend on defense. I do think that makes a lot of sense if that's the direction the Cowboys go to. Another option, I think, you mentioned Zaven Collins. We don't have to talk about him. We've spent countless hours on him Trayvon Merrick, the safety from TCU. Yep. I think at 15 is where, okay, now this makes sense to potentially grab him. You fill the free safety role with a guy that's just rock solid, can tackle. It seems like a lot of people really like him. Would you be okay with Merrick at 15?
I would say that I think it's probably a little bit of a reach. But it's not so much that I'm gonna hit them. Again, like the value part is made whole by the fact that you got an extra pick, whatever that extra pick is. I like Murray, if we ended up with him, I wouldn't be upset. But I do think that I would imagine that there would be better players there available to them than Murray if they're on the clock at 15.
You're probably right. But I think the advantage of drafting Merrick at 15 rather than waiting for a safety at 44 or 46 is you're really probably hoping one guy falls to you, right? In Javon Holland. That's probably it. So if you would rather just get the safety out of the board, off, now, and then at 44, hey, we've got 4 corners that we really like that could potentially fill that spot, whether it's Tyson Campbell or Eric Stokes or Ifedi Melifonwu. I just feel like there's more depth at other positions. Grab the top safety and then move on to a different spot on your defense. I can see that being the right reasoning.
I don't hate that. I mean, I think, again, the further you get out of the top 10, or at least, certainly the top 5, the more you can convince me that draft sequencing should come into play. But if you're in the top 10, you have a chance to take an elite player. Don't be stupid. Like, again, don't be stupid with needs. It's a lot like the Cincinnati Bengals choice at 5, right? It's it's Chase versus Sewell. Pick the guy that's rated higher. Don't pick the guy that you think you can draft somebody else at 2nd and 3rd round. Who cares? Draft the best player. You're in the top 5.
Yeah.
You're in the elite tier. You cannot screw this pick up. You certainly can't put things like that into your formula that are actually going to have any weight to them. You have to pick the best player. Cowboys, as they move further back, I think they can have the luxury of trying to sequence things a little bit because they have extra picks. It gives it, like I said, it spreads the value out a little bit more. I mean, I think, again, I'm not going to hit them super hard if they take Morrig at 15. They traded back. They got the extra pick. That makes the value worth it to me. If they got a guy that they liked, I'm certainly not going to hit them for that. I think I would prefer to get him a little bit later, but again, the trade back makes it palatable.
Again, I want to mention the Raiders draft at 17. They've got Gus Bradley. They're playing the same exact defense that the Cowboys are playing, and they don't have a free safety. Their current free safety is Jeff Heath on their roster. I don't know if you want to wait. Yeah, I don't know if you want to wait any longer to draft Trayvon Merrick because I think that's a very likely selection there. So 15 might be the sweet spot where you need to grab him. One more name, Landon. You mentioned drafting the best player available, and if there's a blinking light on the board, what about Devontae Smith? Now, I know a lot of people are saying you can't draft a receiver in back-to-back years, and actually it would be like 3 straight years after trading your first-round pick in 2019 for Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb in 2020, and Devontae Smith in 2021. However, if Michael Gallup, let's say, is part of that trade to move back to 15, okay, now you have a needed receiver. Devontae Smith, you want to talk about a guy that fits this offense well, Landon?
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine him as the third receiver in this offense where he's going up against the third best cornerback every week? And, he can get open with his route running and his quickness. And that's a pretty fun fit in Kellen Moore and Mike McCarthy's offense now.
Yeah. And I think, talking about kind of the type of player that you need at wide receiver, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he fits a lot of things that the Cowboys like. I think, obviously this is something that we haven't really talked about very much because the idea of the Cowboys taking a wide receiver in the first round, especially Devontae Smith, would normally be associated with the 10th pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
At 15, I can see it now, especially if Gallup if it was involved in the trade, like that makes a lot of sense. Suddenly you're resetting the clock on how long you've got these guys for, and then you're looking at a future where even post Cooper, you've got CeeDee Lamb and Devontae Smith. That's not bad. I mean, I'm certainly not going to poo-poo it.
The thing I like about Smith is I think he fits perfectly with the way Dak Prescott plays, right? I think Dak likes these guys that get open quickly and are the good route runners. He's maybe not the most explosive player after the catch, but that's okay because he's just going to get open all the time. So I don't love Devontae Smith as a number one receiver in the league, and I don't think you can see that on my draft board. He's not in my top 15 players, but if you're telling me he goes to a team where he's the third receiver, okay, that's where I get really, really excited because I think he can be special in that role. Again, a lot of things would have to happen for the Cowboys to pull the trigger on Devontae Smith. Yeah. I just think it's worth mentioning because I think that's around where he'll go. And if the New England Patriots request Michael Gallup in a trade, I could see it. We're going to get to some more rumors and some NFC East related rumors. But before we do that, I want to tell you guys about Bet Online, the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your sports action. Baseball season is in full swing, and you can track all the action at Bet Online. This week has tons of sports action on the go as the NFL draft is on. We've got the Kentucky Derby. It's the first leg of the Triple Crown. We get all the latest news, odds, and info on all your sporting needs, including MLB, NBA, NHL, and UFC. Before the next pitch, head over to BetOnline on your laptop or mobile device and check out all the great sporting news, sign-up bonuses, and contest information. Don't sit on the sidelines anymore, as this is your chance to get into the game as teams prep for their runs to the playoffs. Head to the website or use your mobile device today to sign up and get your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just make sure you're using that promo code LOCKEDON. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. I also want to tell you guys about Built Bar. You know Built Bar, the best tasting protein bar out there. It's hard to even explain it. Real chocolate, amazing flavors. It's just a great combination of low calories, high protein, and low sugar with no crazy additives. Best of all, they taste fantastic. Go to BuiltBar.com and use promo code LOCKEDON15 and you'll get 15% off your next order. All right, Landon, we're going to run through a couple rumors really quickly. Let's try to hit as many as possible. First and foremost, from Dan Graziano and Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, Washington trying to trade inside the top 10, but not for a quarterback. Do you believe it? And if it isn't for a quarterback, who is it for?
I don't know if I believe it. I do believe that Washington is exploring a trade up because I've heard that as well, but not for a quarterback. That's shocking. If it's not for a quarterback, maybe an offensive lineman. I mean, like I don't know. Like Washington seems like they really need a quarterback, and if they really seem like if they're trading up, they need to be trading up for a quarterback.
Their problem they have is they draft too late in the first round, right? Is a team, let's say Denver, going to want to go from 9 to 19 or wherever they draft 9 to 20? Probably not, right? Unless you're getting multiple first-round picks in the future. I highly doubt it.
So then if you're doing that, how can you not be taking a quarterback? That's
exactly what it is, right? You have to be taking a quarterback. So maybe Washington's trying to throw the scent off to other teams wanting to get up. I just don't see them not getting a quarterback. It doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah, I can believe the trade part. I can believe that. Just because seriously, if they trade up and they get a quarterback, Cowboys fans, we're going to have to talk about that.
Yeah.
But but if they trade up and they take Rashawn Slater,
cool,
man, great, like, awesome. I mean,
I love
enjoy
Slater,
that.
but
That's
Slater's
ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree.
That's ridiculous for Sewell, man. Like I don't know. Like I think they're too close, and to throw it all away for anything other than a quarterback to me is not smart.
All right, the next one is from our buddy Eric Galco again. He believes that Jason Owa will not go in the first round, and he could go within the first 10 or 12 picks of the second round. Is Jason Owa somebody that you're interested in at 44?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I know how you feel about lack of production.
But I'm okay with that.
But you like him, don't you?
I like him.
Your own thing.
No, well, okay. The athleticism is fantastic, and the production keeps him out of the first round for me. No. Second round is where I gamble on those guys, right? Okay. Like the second round is where you gamble on the freaky athletes. I can't do this when we're doing it in the top 20. That doesn't make any sense to me. 44 is a good range for him.
I can't remember if the Eagles pick ahead of us in the second round. I guess they don't, right? Or no, they do actually.
Yeah,
and if they do, I wouldn't be surprised if they were the ones who ended up taking him.
37. Yep.
Yeah,
37.
I wouldn't be surprised if 37 was his landing spot because that seems like an Eagles pick to me.
The Giants also drafted 42. That makes a lot of sense if the Giants don't go pass rusher. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about Jason Owa. To the similar thing, I don't think Gregory Rousseau is going in the first round. If he's there at 44, are you interested in that?
Well, I mean, I don't know if everyone saw, but on the DallasCowboys.com show, KT Turner caused quite a riot on the show by picking Gregory Rousseau at 44. If he's there, I know
I struggle with him really badly.
I struggle with him too because I feel like we have appropriately downgraded his stock. But now I feel like we are struggling as a draft community, to find his floor, to find where we do feel comfortable with it, because we've spent all this time speaking of the unknowns. And again, the real problem here, and the reason that I think he is kind of in a free fall, is that he was overrated to begin with. We started driving him down. He has no 2020 tape. So we don't have any idea what this kid looks like. He played 1 year of college football. He really showed out. He's brand new at the position. So it's everything. Like, you don't have a lot of tape, but he has an incredible amount of upside. He hasn't played very much defensive end, so you don't know how good he's going to be immediately. But on the other side, he hasn't played very much defensive end. He could get so much better. So he's really an anomaly, and this is one of the guys that I think is going to be. In fact, I'll say it. I think this is the guy who has suffered the most because of the COVID situation, whether it's of his own doing for opting out or however you want to face it. This is the guy who has just kind of had a nightmare offseason compared to what the expectations were for the player going into last year's college football season. I do want people to remember at the beginning of the draft cycle, I can vividly remember, Landon, like when as soon as Dak Prescott got hurt, the first thing I did was start to look at mock drafts. And I remember Gregory Rousseau being like in the top 10 of every single mock. In every single mock. He hasn't played since then, obviously. And now we're talking about him. Would you absolutely hate it if they drafted him at 44? I don't know how to feel. It's certainly a risky pick, but hey, if you take let's say a sure thing like Surtain at 10, I feel better about that, right? Or if you trade down and you pick up an extra second round pick, okay, that makes sense. So now I get, with your extra draft capital, taking a risk, but it's going to be interesting. One more edge rusher that I want your opinion on at number 44. A report from Tony Pauline of Pro Football Network. Georgia edge Azeez Ojulari was flagged for a degenerative lower leg condition in Indianapolis. Yes or no to Ojulari at 44? Yeah, give me. I mean, don't care about degenerative legs around here. I've heard of those. That's fine. I mean, it didn't stop him last year, did it? So. Stop our linebacker. Yeah. It's I don't know. I think I would. I mean, that's where if you're gonna knock him for a knee, he's too talented. Just grab him and let's Let's see how long that knee lasts. To me, and of course, it's the perfect Cowboys pick, right? Oh, a guy with a degenerative knee that's
perfect.
really talented.
That's us.
Yeah, let's. I'll take him at 44. Absolutely.
One more sleep, Landon. One more sleep, and then we are here.
And I don't know if I'm going to sleep. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. I may have had my last sleep.
Yeah, that's true. I might be trying to get a couple more in before the draft.
Maybe.
That is it for today's show. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, you can download and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audacity, wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks again to everybody who's been subscribing to our show on YouTube.
Yes.
We hit 1,000 subscribers on Tuesday night. So thanks again. Continue to do that. You can follow Landon on Twitter at McCoolBCB. I'm at Marcus_Mosher.